All right, perfect. So, welcome everyone to those who are joining us today for one of our webinars here at Massive Bio. I'm Dr. Arturo Loaiza-Bonilla, the co-founder and chief medical officer of the company, and I have the distinguished privilege today to have actually a bunch of members of the executive team for Massive Bio. I have Selin Kurnaz, the co-founder and CEO of Massive Bio, who's a very well known person in the space of AI and technology and engineering, and very passionate about clinical trials. We also have Çağatay Çulcuoğlu, who is also a chief technology officer and chief organization officer for Massive Bio, very good friend of mine, of course, and an expert in managing all the things technologically and organizational wise. And last but not least, we have Oz as well, Huner, who's joining us. He is a chief product officer and very seasoned individual in the space of technology as well. Knows about AI and biomarkers. And of course, I will let them introduce themselves at this a few minutes. But I just wanted to welcome everyone to today's webinar. So you want to do quick introductions, each one of you, and then just what do you do at Massive Bio beyond my introduction, and then we can get started with some questions.
Hi, this is Selin Kurnaz. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Massive Bio. Massive Bio has been founded based on my family's frustration in cancer care. As Arturo mentioned, I come from a heavy engineering background. And then for about 10 years, I was in strategy, operations, and transactions. So my role at Massive Bio is being the janitor and the CEO at the same time. So going through all the stages of the relationship with the sponsors, the relationship with the investors, and most importantly, I think try to even touch every patient to the extent it's possible. It's not, I think, there are not enough hours in the day to manage that, but Massive Bio is not just a business for me, it's also an incredible personal passion for me. So, trying to make sure that every patient has a delightful experience and have the access to clinical trials, regardless of their location and or financial stability. So, in addition to my quote unquote traditional CEO role, that's my life mission and vision, and try to make sure that that gets executed with the team members, internal and external stakeholders. And in order to achieve that, whatever that I have to do is possible.
Thank you, Selin. This is Çağatay Çulcuoğlu, co-founder, CTO, and Chief Operating Officer at Massive Bio. And I would like to welcome everyone joining today's webinar and joining us and listening us and trying to understand how we leverage AI in our solutions and how AI is driving personalized cancer treatment. So as Arturo mentioned, I'm Chief Technology Officer responsible for the technology implementation and integration at Massive Bio since the inception of the company in 2014. And also I'm responsible as Chief Operating Officer, ensuring all the global operational activities are in good shape, not only on the HR or on the compliance side, but with the rest of all the initiatives. And it's a privilege to be on this call today. Thank you.
And I'm Oz Huner. My background is in cell and molecular biology, and I've built a career in using technology in diagnostics and drug discovery. I'm really pleased to be here at Massive Bio now. And my role is as Chief Product Officer, focused on making sure our platforms and IT infrastructure support all of our needs, and then building applications on top of that that serve both patients as well as physicians.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And we're off to a great start. Today, we're going to have a conversation about the use of AI in oncology and how we try to implement this in this new era of new tools coming almost every day to our inboxes and social media. So first, get started with the foundation. So Selin, if you don't mind, just kind of giving us the spill on how Massive Bio was founded. You mentioned some details about your own frustrations in access to cancer care. But you want to go deeper on how and when did AI become the engine that actually drives the company's clinical trial matching service and beyond.
Sure. Thank you, Arturo. So this has, from an emotional standpoint, started when my uncle has been diagnosed with cancer. That was definitely a devastating experience for me and for my family. And at that point in time, or until that point in time, we don't have any family member that's been exposed to cancer. But when cancer hits the family, it's a completely different ballgame. And we got completely confused, frustrated, and don't know what to do, where to go to. And although we have some level of education and financial stability, it was complete chaos and mess. And my engineering brain couldn't get it, because I said, okay, we have solved all these many problems. Why this is so difficult? And I also lost an aunt to cancer more than a year ago. So this is almost like a pattern in my family, having a cancer patient. And also, this is not just for me. My two co-founders, Arturo and Çağatay, on the phone, they have family members that's been exposed to cancer. And then we have a lot of team members that are either cancer survivors or family members that are going through the cancer journey. So this is not an anomaly. This is not a one-off situation. That is in the life of all of us. So once this thing becomes super complicated and unknown, even for educated people, that kind of raises the question, what can we do as the individuals, as the community, to overcome this thing? And that's how we have founded Massive Bio. So in terms of the integration of AI and all the others, there are three aspects of Massive Bio. There is the patient identification, pre-screening, as well as the last mile. And AI has been integrated in the totality of these three different stages of Massive Bio. The first application of AI is on the pre-screening side. On the pre-screening side, after we consent the patient, we collect the patient's medical records. In addition to that, we collect the patient's next generation sequencing results to the extent it's available. If it is not available, we work with the treating oncologist so that this becomes a next generation sequencing order, and becomes a medical necessity for a larger probability of potential reimbursement. And then we consolidate that clinical as well as genomic information. In addition to that, not only kind of consolidate and structure that information, we structure the inclusion and exclusion criteria in the clinicaltrials.gov as well as in the study protocols, so that we have that matching exists between the patient side as well as the clinical trial side. So when a patient comes to Massive Bio, they have been pre-screened to 14,000 actively recruiting oncology interventional clinical trials at clinicaltrials.gov. And the application of AI at that point in time, it's the structuring of the clinical information, genomic information, trial inclusion and exclusion criteria information from different sources, and then matching that. That's the first application of artificial intelligence at Massive Bio. The second application of artificial intelligence at Massive Bio, it's the patient identification. Because believe it or not, there is no global, universal, real-time cancer registry in the world. It's unbelievable that this is happening. But what we are trying to do is that we are trying to develop that global real-time patient registry. And a way to be able to do that is to understand prevalences of patients and trying to target those patients and attract those patients to our patient contact center so that they get consented, pre-screened, and then the last mile process starts. And the methods that we use in order to be able to target those patients, the digital communities that we develop, and the engagements that we have, we mine significant large number of data. That would be either our own data, that may be the data that we receive from our sponsor, or that may be the data that we purchase, amalgamation of all of these different data sets to precisely predict where those patients are and where need to go and get those patients. That's the second application of artificial intelligence in patient identification and surfacing. The third application of Massive Bio's AI capabilities is, which is it's in its infancy format, it's the development of an operational decision support. When a patient is clinically eligible, it takes between 15 hours to up to 300 hours for that clinically eligible patient to enroll into a study, because the patient needs to get transferred to the facility where the trial sponsor is located. The patient needs to be resolved, or the issues that needs to be resolved on the operational as well as the logistical matters. And then finally, the things needs to be resolved for the financial matters. And the management of that process, the development of different cohorts and personas about the different patient sets that we see in order to be able to develop the best course of action in the shortest amount of time, and development of that recognition and the steps that the patient has to go through by the people in our patient contact centers, our case managers, and some other team members of Massive Bio requires more than what a human brain power can do. It has to be automated, it has to be scaled, and it has to be unbiased. So that's the other aspect of the evolution of application of AI at Massive Bio. However, the other layer of application of AI is, you go into you identify the patient, great. You pre-screen the patient, great. And then you enroll the patient, that's great. However, you also mine a lot of data in the entire journey of the patient, which we call it as the Amazonization of the patient journey, and mining that data, identifying the trends, understanding which drugs has worked, which clinical trials has worked, in order to develop the future of drug development, is actually the fundamentals of the Massive Bio strategy. So those are kind of the 3+1 areas where we're applying and using artificial intelligence. We don't talk about artificial intelligence every single day, because the first thing that we are trying to do is to enroll the patient. However, when you look at the background of Massive Bio, there's a significant amount of data, technology, automation, and scale is happening in order to be able to develop that master prescribing agency at the global level. So that's kind of in summary, or in layman terms, of what Massive Bio does. And now I leave the stage to my team, to describe you what is the day-to-day granularity of what we are doing in order to achieve this thing in the currently as well as in the future.
All right, perfect. No, that's very good detailed explanation. I think that something that I always wanted to hear, from you, on how we do things in the vision of how we're trying to do these things every day. So I guess just moving gears to Çağatay, from your perspective as someone who does both technology and operations, can you just give me or give us a brief definition of how you see AI, and some examples of how we use this, not only Massive Bio, but in healthcare as a whole, in cancer care, trends they're seeing in the space. So basically, kind of like looking at what we talk about on the webinar, which is how AI is driving personalized cancer treatment. And of course, I'll give some comments of myself after this, but I would just love to hear from you.
Sure. Thank you, Arturo. That's a fantastic question. So, AI is very hot, and it's been hot in the last 5 years. And in brief terms, we can indicate AI as the development of computer systems, as we all use, that can perform tasks that typically require human intelligence. So you expect some intelligence from the computer programming. And if I give a couple examples, such as recognizing patterns or making decisions, and so we want computers to make some decisions or programs and learn from that experience. So that's what we can call AI on high level. In healthcare, how is AI is being used? Of course, there are many ways, but I just want to share a couple of them, like three or four of them. One of them is medical imaging. AI can be used to analyze medical images such as X-rays, CT scans, MRIs to identify any kind of abnormalities with the purpose of assisting in the diagnosis. So that's one area. The other area is patient monitoring. We can leverage AI algorithms to analyze patient data, such as vital signs, to identify the early signs of any kind of health issues. The third area is the personalized treatment in healthcare that it can be leveraged. So there's huge amount of data. It's not easy for human beings to analyze that data in a manual way, but if you leverage AI, you can analyze this type of patient data, as Selin was mentioning, in patient identification, but looking at genetics, medical history, and try to tailor some treatment plans and predict the likelihood of an outcome, a positive outcome. The other area is drug discovery. Again, what Selin mentioned, and Massive is working diligently to come up with great solutions. AI can be used to analyze, again, vast amounts of data, which Massive Bio does have, to identify potential new drugs and help with the drug discovery process to speed up that process. So that's the healthcare side. How about the cancer care? So again, in cancer care, it's similar to healthcare. It can be used to improve detection, diagnosis, or treatment of cancer. For example, with the detection, as you might heard in the news, AI is now being very heavily with the breast cancer detection. So very early in the game, if you leverage AI technologies, you can really understand even before it becomes a neoplasm. At the diagnosis, AI can assist in the understanding of biopsy results, allowing for faster and more accurate diagnosis. The third area in the cancer care is the treatment planning. So AI can help analyze the patient data and try to come up with the most suitable treatment plan. It's either a treatment plan, but it can also include clinical trials for the most suitable clinical trials for a patient. The one final area is the prognosis. So AI can predict the likelihood of the cancer recurrence and the effectiveness of the treatment options based on the existing patient data of an individual, but at the same time, looking at the collective data lake that the patients have in an institution, so that a better prediction can happen using AI. So in overall, I can say that AI has the potential to transform the field of cancer care by looking at the detection, diagnosis, and treatment, and it can really help the patients with the personalized results.
No, that's so interesting, particularly because now we're seeing all these new developments. We're looking like Chat GPT and how these models are being improved, and many other things happening in the digital space. I mean, I can mention some of the things that I always find important and fascinating to me, particularly things that we couldn't do in healthcare in the past thanks to AI that now we can do possible. So for example, as you're mentioning, like these advances in computer vision, where we're able to use digital pathology to read out slides and find patterns that are invisible to the naked eye, and sometimes we don't even required to do basic staining of immunohistochemistry or even NGS to find potential alterations on those pathology slides, just because there are some patterns that already can be translated from the phenotype itself. As you mentioned, all the data collection, now we have so much disparate data in silos. I mean, this is a recurrent theme we have heard constantly in the industry, where everyone has this trove of data, but and everything that we have, but no one is able to integrate things together. And making it a patient-centric approach, such as what we do, has made a lot of sense, because we're able to collect information and make it in a use case that is applicable for the patient right away, but also to help patients to find clinical trials, to match to studies, to identify all those things that otherwise would not be possible, or if they were possible but required tons of time with people working together, you can do it in a matter of seconds, because it can actually read things much quicker, do things much faster, and kind of remove certain biases or things that we may have, and is how we train those systems to become really effective. And that leads to me to the concept of, individualized, personalized cancer treatment or precision oncology, which is basically optimized care at the point of where the patient needs it the most. They always say precision oncology is the right treatment at the right patient at the time, the right location. Now is the right platform and software and access that they have, which is the next layer of the next dimension of care. So integrating all these new developments, in cancer care, one being the advent of, the omics, right? The genomics, the proteomics, the changes on circulating tumor DNA, on dynamic clonal evolution of cancer, and really being able to read all those mutations, those variants, and put it into context for drug discovery, for analytics, for predictive and prognostic angles using multimodal approaches with deep learning. I think this is something that is really making the ultimate standard of care treatment in the future, where we can use those LLMs, those learning models, to help patients understand their care, but at the same time also decrypt all the things that make the patients unique, and how the cancer can be attacked in a very unique, personalized way. I think that's something that the AI is able to really make a difference. So I'm very excited about that. But with all that, so is there now talking about tools? So I'm gonna just go, and Oz and Çağatay, what you can chime in, whoever you want to. So first, talk about what are the AI-based tools that you have seen now cancer patients can access, and also talking about our own tools. So for example, the Synergy AI, clinical trial matching solution. How does it work? How we can use them, and how is this different from what is available in the space, and to tailor for better outcomes for the patient, to get better treatments, etc. So I think we'd love to have your perspective, as I already layer mine.
Sure, maybe I can start, and Çağatay, please chime in. So today, from a patient experience point of view, healthcare is still very much a laborious process that has a lot of friction. In the process of enrolling into a clinical trial, there are more than 40 discrete steps, each with a decision gate that involves a lot of manual labor. So what we're focused on really is the patient journey, and making that experience as seamless and frictionless as possible. So some of the things that we've talked about, to talk about technology, we're using, computer vision, we're using natural language processing, and we're using recommendation systems, all of which are in the family of AI tools. When you have an advanced cancer patient, some of these patients have medical records of more than 500, sometimes 1,000 pages. And really, healthcare, even today, is using 1970s technology to communicate this wealth of data. And we're leaving it to the hands of human beings, where there's often not necessarily concordance in how they read the charts and the conclusions that they come to. So we're trying to automate all of that. We have automated that with computer vision and natural language processing to extract information from that 1,000-page medical record, and then parameterizing all of the data that we extract, and doing the same thing with the information that we get from clinicaltrials.gov, as well as other sources like sponsors for our studies. Then our recommendation system vectorizes these parameters and comes up with the best matches for each and every patient. That already removes a lot of the friction involved in the process, a lot of the bias by standardizing that process, and allows our staff to treat many more patients than they could otherwise do manually. Tools that we have like Synergy AI, to focus on the patient journey, basically allow for patients surrounded by their family and loved ones to access our systems using their phone and computer wherever they happen to be. So patients don't necessarily see our AI capabilities, but they're certainly touched by all of it at every step. Çağatay, do you want to add anything?
Sure, that was great detail, Oz, but I would like to touch upon a bit more on the tools on a higher level. As Arturo has mentioned, I can say that AI-powered chatbots will be more observable in the coming, I would say, days or years, so that, as you are aware, more than 20 million or 25 million people are becoming cancer every year. And there's a bigger need to accommodate and respond to these individuals. And there's going to be more need on the chatbot or automated systems supported by AI to provide educational support information or any other types of responses and answering questions, or even offering advice on either managing symptoms or side effects, or even at some point providing some recommendations in relation to treatments. So that's one area. And the other area is the mobile applications. So we will observe more on the mobile side that AI-powered mobile applications will be on stage that can help patients to track their symptoms or monitor their medication schedules, connect with support groups, or share their medical information and try to find out the best possible treatment options or clinical trials or even the most suitable drugs. And in fact, at Massive Bio, that's one of the solutions we are at this point leveraging and implemented already, our mobile application on the Synergy AI side, where the patients can provide their medical information and can get clinical trial recommendations supported by our AI solution on the spot.
There's one more thing I'd like to add, and we've really focused here on the patient journey and the wealth of information that comes along with the patient. But one of the byproducts of our platform is that we're generating a lot of real-world data and tracking those patient outcomes to generate real-world evidence. That, in turn, is a wealth of knowledge for drug discovery, where we can use future AI applications to discover new patterns and new drugs potentially.
Well, there's one more area that I wanted to kind of mention. We discussed the kind of the exposure to the patient. We discussed the process for the drug development and discovery. The other area that we're working is on the provider side. So basically development of applications and tools for the providers to connect, to engage, refer patients to the sponsor sites. And there's a new application that is going to be launched very soon by Massive Bio that kind of educates the providers about the different clinical trials, that actually allows the provider to refer a patient, also allows the provider to have some level of a clinical decision support at their fingertips in order for them to be able to evaluate different trials in the context of their patients and do an automated referral or do a referral from a mobile application by the usage of the AI and different technologies. So I think in the nutshell, at Massive Bio, we are trying to almost touch every stakeholder in this game, from a patient, from a provider, from a sponsor, from a payer, from a specialty pharmacy, so that what we do is not suboptimal. What we do is globally optimal in order to get to the very fundamental problem of an unsolved that's been for decades, which we try to attack and empower, which is the global oncology clinical trial enrollment problem. So that's kind of whatever that we do is almost like fixated that at the first layer, and then drug, level and drug discovery, and so on and so forth. But that's kind of what we're focused on, so that we don't leave any stakeholder behind in this game, because these are the pieces of the puzzle. One piece of the puzzle is not there, there is no success or happiness.
No, very well said. And I think, as you all mentioned, not only about clinical trials, but also precision oncology treatments and beyond. I think the use of this technology is becoming essential now. As long as we train the model right, we're going to have augmented intelligence by really spending the time with the patient and making the rest of the operations using these additional tools. So as you're saying, for example, a patient who may not be eligible for a trial now may be eligible for maybe a test, right? So facilitate that testing for that patient, or the patient actually has the test being performed and it has a biomarker, but we on running the mill forgetting about sometimes the patient has that biomarker, and kind of flagging that to help the patient to really know that there's an option for them that may actually be more responsive than the other treatments that may be offered. So I think all those solutions for trials and for standard of care and beyond is a big opportunities that we've seen for optimization, particularly as we know now that many patients lose their chance even when they have the tools available. So that's important. So just as we're talking about clinical trials, do you see any role in the I mentioned the design of clinical trials, which I think is key to have like seamless, and particularly now that the FDA has been talking about, accelerated approvals, having seamless trials that check for first, safety and then efficacy in the single trial approach. Do you see any involvement of the AI for the execution, the design, and also to improve access, for example, diversity for clinical trials, right? So having those patients that otherwise are underserved, that may be actually more reflective of the population as a whole, in having them be part of that research.
Sure, I can. So, Oz, you want to talk about it? So go ahead, and I will jump there later.
Well, yeah, certainly there's opportunities for AI in the design of clinical trials that leverage real-world data, especially. Design of trials today is very much focused on a single cohort, often without much diversity. One of the advantages that we have at Massive Bio, being a global operation, is that we've touched the lives of over 100,000 patients across the globe. So the data that we've collected offers a really rich and diverse data set. Often clinical trials fail, and they fail because we don't have enough diversity, or because the study design is focused on a very specific cohort. So by leveraging AI to look for patterns across a real-world database, we can learn what we don't already know. And we can have an AI system that allows for better rescue of studies and allows us to find patterns and match with patient cohorts that weren't even part of the design. So that's certainly a big opportunity.
Yes, and there is a couple other areas that AI can be leveraged in the design or execution of the clinical trials. One area is data analysis. So AI can help to analyze the large amounts of data generated by clinical trials, and it can help improve the speed and accuracy of the AI, the analysis, and reducing the risk of error. So we can understand, looking at the inclusion or exclusion criteria of a trial or a group of trials, and understand where the patients fall under and what kind of inclusion or exclusion criteria are roadblocks to enroll patients. So AI is very useful to identify it and alert early in the game, so that in the process or the journey of a clinical trial can be turned into a success versus a failure. The other area is the patient recruitment, as Oz and Arturo has mentioned. So it can help us to identify or better minorities or different type of individuals to participate to clinical trials. So in a nutshell, those are the two areas that I think AI can be leveraged for the execution or the design of clinical trials.
For sure.
One area I think we can further comment on is the development of synthetic control arms and how it's being used, like how you develop that control arm, what kind of data sets are going to be able to develop, and what kind of data sets that is going to be further generated from the real world data that has already been collected. So the purpose of today's conversation is not the synthetic control arms, digital therapeutics, and all the other areas. So we wanted to be respectful of the colleagues that are kind of working in those angles. Our focus today is more on the patient identification, pre-screening, and the concierge enrollment. But I think this would even be multiple PhD theses that people can write if you wanted to really kind of do a deep dive of all the applications. So that I don't want it to people think that we're dismissing a lot of the areas. We're all aware of it, but I think we just want it to be as focused and relevant for our business as well as the audience.
Yeah, no, and I think as you mentioned in the operational side, I mean, just being able to data mine in real time activations and closing of clinical trials globally, which is like the concept of the command center that we've been thinking about for a while, I think is very important, because using that data in real time and aligning, those, deserts of places where there's no trials, and instead of, cluttering the same, repetitive sites where you have two trials that are competing with each other for the same sponsor, instead of having those studies kind of split in different places where they actually are patients that can activate them and facilitate things such, the novel designs for example, just in time or decentralized clinical trials or right in time, depending on who you talk to. I think this is an important component that AI can facilitate, and is almost like, the low-hanging fruit. Like we're doing it right now, so it can be done at scale. So that's the other component I feel is going to be key. All right, so I think we're almost getting to the top of the hour for the time for questions, but I wanted to start with the questions to the team itself here. So I'm always curious to learn what we all think as we learn more and more of all these new developments. So about the role of AI in the future of cancer care, and I can start, and I would love to hear from everyone, and I get Selin to be the last one to give us the final comment. But from my perspective, I see it as a way to really optimize the care of all my patients. I need more time, and technology can help me. I know that it can help me not only from diagnosis, checking for things that I'm missing from imaging, or make it more efficient to identify areas of concern and pathology, but digital pathology, and finding biomarkers, tell me who hasn't been tested yet, and those who are tested find the right drug and use the combination to really make those synthetic control arms and put the patient in a really personalized model using those new, multimodal approaches with deep learning. I think that is an amazing future that I really want everyone can access, and I'm hoping to see that in the next 10. Of course, we're probably gonna have more conversations in depth and about all those topics, but that's kind of like my appetizer, as sometimes we say.
Yeah, let me chip in with two areas that I can see AI is going to help healthcare to improve actually in the future. One is very similar to yours, is like chronic disease management. So as cancer is also, some types of cancer is becoming more chronic, and with better drugs and treatment options, I believe AI powered devices is going to help monitor patients with some chronic cancer types, and is going to help provide more real-time feedback and support to those patients to manage their conditions. So that's one area that I can see AI that's going to be leveraged. One other area is, again, in relevance to cancer or any other type of disease, is going to be disease prevention. So it's better not to have disease versus to have the disease. So I think AI will be leveraged or utilized more to analyze patient data, existing patient data, or pre-diagnosis conditions to identify risk factors for different diseases, allowing healthcare providers to take more proactive measures to prevent those diseases to happen, so that it's going to be less disease problematic environment for anyone. Yep.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with the word multimodal, Arturo. A lot of AI applications today are focused on a single modality, like imaging or NGS sequencing for tumor profiling. I'm sure that physicians like yourself are already struggling with all the wealth of information that they have to put together. It's difficult to access in electronic health records. It's difficult to put it all together in your head. I'm sure that you would like to have a AI prosthetic that alerts you or notifies you of opportunities for your patients, right? And so one of the applications of AI that I see in the future is definitely going to be driven by multimodal analysis, where by combining signals from radiology images, from pathology images, as well as the medical chart, we can identify opportunities for your patients that you might not otherwise be able to pick up yourself.
Yeah, so I think I am glad that the team has kind of come up with this thoughts and the ideas that's going to derive the next 10 to 20, 30 years. My approach is a little bit more simplistic than that. And what is important? The right diagnosis is important. The right treatment is important. And while we are trying to get this right diagnosis and treatment, it has to be painless. It has to be responsive, and it needs to solve my issues at the right time, at the right amount. So I'm not a fortune teller and I'm not a magician. So that's for sure. But what I can tell you is that I sometimes feel that in the space of AI, we're always looking for the shiny object for the future, but life has an expiration date. So I would like the AI to impact my life today. Okay, so it's just the March 28, 2:45 p.m. in Eastern. So I want that AI to impact my life today. It may not be the invention of a new drug, because fortunately, there are 14,000 actively recruiting oncology clinical trials, which means that there are significant amount of drugs that has already been thought and articulated, but it's not in the market yet. So if AI is going to be able to help my life today with the currently available tools and show that that is scalable, that can provide an health equity and access globally, I can sign up for that. But I don't want to go into a shiny object AI that will never arrive in my life while my life is an expiration date for 10, 20 years down the road. So that's what I would like to make sure that we have to think about in a bipolar way, the short term today, as well as, sending the patients to Mars kind of a model, the future thinking. But wanted to make sure that when we wake up tomorrow, the AI, which is, to me, it's a means to an end. It's not the main, entree. It's an appetizer in order to be able to provide the right level of care with the right quantity, with the right level of responsiveness, has to come with that model. So I think as a company, we're working on the short term, again, because we lost a 4-year-old radiosarcoma patient this weekend, because those are the things that's happening that matters every single day, that we need to impact their lives now, not 10 years from now. So those are the things that we have to think about, while we're thinking about what would be the kind of the next medicine in a chip that we can insert into the human brain that can be taken with the kind of the maybe the radio signals, as opposed to not even kind of orally. So those are the things that, what I wanted to make sure that we can push the envelope in the massive bio, in the community, and with all the stakeholders to move this big gorilla forward.
No, perfect. Very well said. And I think we want to help patients right now, and then we're doing it. But there's a lot of room to grow, and it's all about collaboration, right? So one of the things what we wanted to do as a team is to make sure that people knew what we do, because as we mentioned, this is all for free to patients, providers. Is a mission that we all driven for, and we want to help patients right now to really, come in a collaborative model to make it happen, and so we can dream those, things of the future that we can make better one day at a time. With that, I would love to see if there's any comments or any questions. I think many of them that had been discussed before had been already raised during the comments from all the panelists today. We want to encourage everyone to send us direct messages, reach out through social media, through our different channels, and watch your videos and see where we're standing for. And then kind of help us to drive the future of oncology care, but, helping one patient at a time right now. So you have any relative, any friend, any loved one who has cancer right now, who is looking for answers, we are here to help them. We hope to be able to give you at least some guidance, so we can be part of that journey, because for us it's very personal, and we want to help everyone as much as possible. So a call to action. And with that, I want to thank everyone for the opportunity here. Okay, so there's one comment here. Would you give me some examples? I have an unusual situation and would like to contribute to the study of cancer as I help my family with dealing with this. Well, thank you so much. We have given many examples of opportunities that we can help cancer patients. Every case is unique. But what we're trying to do here is to, help patients by gathering the information that they have on their care, see opportunities of optimization in terms of biomarker testing or clinical trials that are closer to them that may not be ready right now, but maybe in the future give you an update in real time. And that's how we are helping patients right now to really get to those additional opportunities and kind of bridge the gap in cancer research. And beyond that, as I was saying, I thank everyone for their time, the opportunity to be here. Okay, another question. Should a patient have NGS to get into a trial as screening? So, well, I can comment on that one, I guess, as the physician here. So, the answer is not every clinical trial requires next generation sequencing. However, when someone is dealing with cancer, and it's an advanced cancer that has not been tested before, there is an opportunity to find more trials by looking at all the genomic underpinnings of the cancer itself. So something that we have found, particularly in many cancers now, is that there are certain mutations or certain biomarkers that, when present, help us to tailor the treatment better, and not only find standard of care options that may be helpful for the patients, but also new molecules that are in the space that are leading to the approvals that we're seeing every single day now, left and right from the FDA, is because patients have enrolled into clinical trials, and many of them have done it because they've gone through next generation sequencing. And now it's sometimes as simple as getting a blood sample that someone goes home and draws the blood for you, and then you send the testing out and you get the results in a couple of days, like sometimes as early as 7 days. But also, we also can help. I mean, we do it on Massive Bio in an automated fashion to facilitate the testing by looking for the tissue of the original biopsy or the recent biopsy, and try to make sure that if the patient is an appropriate patient for biomarker testing, then get it submitted to get there. And we also help you identify pre-screeners for next generation sequencing. So sometimes there are a number of biomarker driven initiatives where you get next generation sequencing for free. And you just need to be the right patient, and then actually we facilitate the patient to get into that pre-screening protocol so they can get the access to the next generation sequencing as well in case of need. So it's an opportunity for patients to optimize care, and something that we can use AI for real-time analytics and kind of giving us alerts so we can know which patients are the right ones for that based on necessity.
Arturo, can I put in a plug for our products?
Please. Yes.
So to answer Diana's question, I think a really great place to start would be to go to the massivebio.com website, or download the Synergy AI app from your favorite app store, and start the process. If you enter in the information, we ask for a few simple details. One of our patient advocates will follow up with you and basically tell you whether you need an NGS test or not. And then if you want to follow through with the process, we'll collect your medical records, do the pre-screening, and certainly let you know exactly what tests need to be done.
Yeah, and Arturo, I think to respond to Diana's question, and you can correct me as well. So the new generation of systemic therapies like immunotherapies, to have them leveraged, you would need to have biomarkers identified. Am I correct? So it's more recommendable to have NGS testing, although not all the clinical trials require them.
That is correct. So something that we've seen as a trend as we analyze all the data from all the trials that have been done in the last decade is that there's a significant uptrend of biomarker-driven clinical trials and becoming more complex in that sense, but also make them more unique. That means that there's a chance the patient may respond better because it's very personalized to your cancer. And from being about 10% of the trials about a decade ago, now there are over a half of them could have some form of biomarker testing or requirement for enrollment. So these tests are available. They are mostly approved for the vast majority of patients who have advanced cancer. So why not even try it? So that's why I tell some of my patients is like, well, I want this for myself and my family, right? So if we as physicians don't get paid for that testing, the insurance pays for it, and the NGS vendors are willing to do the test. So it's like a win-win-win situation, right? So leaving no stone unturned and having the most amount of information to me is key, and that's why NGS and biomarker testing to me is basically quintessential for not only clinical trials but also for a standard of care. I mean, it's a disservice not getting tested right now, because the treatments that are biomarker driven, they particularly in tumors like, for example, lung cancer, having MSI high can be lifesavers. So you don't want to miss that chance, even if it's 1%, or even sometimes we have found patients with biomarkers that are 0.01% in the population, but for that patient is 100% of their lives, right? So that's why it's so important for all of us to be part of this.
But we are happy to help you to get the testing. That's kind of the key point. You don't have to have testing. That doesn't mean that you're excluded from anything. But then once you enter, the Massive Bio, and then once we engage with you, we'll determine if you need an NGS testing, depending upon your tumor type, tumor subtype, and your clinical condition. And if you need testing, we help the patients for the ordering of these testing through their treating oncologist, so that they don't get disadvantaged or discriminated because they haven't done an NGS testing before.
Yeah, so spread the word, tell everyone, if someone is in a chemo chair right now watching this, just tell their, other, friends around and say, is there any opportunity have you been tested for NGS? That'll be my first question, right? And also, have you ever looked for clinical trials? So something that always we want to highlight is, out of the 12 million patients diagnosed with cancer the last decade, just in the US, only 0.1% of patients have actually been offered or enrolled in a clinical trial. And at the same time, half of the trials closed because there's not enough patients. So we know that there is a deep need of a solution to be in the middle, and that's what we're trying to fill that void. But we can only do it if we build a network of patients and providers and folks who are interested in clinical trials. We can really advance the treatments of the future working together. So spread the word. Tell everyone. We're always here to also improve ourselves and see how we can make the system better, because we of course have our own vision based on our daily experiences. We're dealing with tens of thousands of patients coming to our platforms, but we need more actually. The more patients the better, because the system becomes better every time by each one of you. So you are making a dent on making the technology and the AI even better every time you come in. Okay, so we are top of the hour. So I want to thank everyone for their comments. This one of several conversations we're going to be having about AI, technology, clinical trials, and in oncology. And feel free to share any new topics you want to learn about, things that you want to get insights from. You have a bunch of PhDs, MBAs, MDs, and beyond here at your service, actually, to answer questions. And we really want to learn from you as well through those questions, through those inquiries, and really want to make sure that this is helpful for everyone. So with that, I want to wrap up the day. But thank you so much for your participation, and look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you, everyone, for participating.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye now.
Bye.
Think of technology. This adventure, which has been for millions of years and growing with the contributions made drop by drop, is for us the heritage of our past, the guide of our present, and the hope of our future. With massive biotechnology, we are seeing a brand new era in the treatment of cancer patients. As a result of the artificial intelligence developed by Massive Bio, matching cancer patients with clinical trials is now much easier. We are determined to bring together this process, which takes weeks or even months with traditional methods, with the hope of the future. Let's summarize this whole process in 3 stages. Patient identification, AI-based matching and pre-screening, patient referral and concierge enrollment. Let's examine the technology developed by Massive Bio that lies behind all this together. Massive Bio has built an ecosystem to match clinical trials and patients around the world. In addition to the advertisements we publish on all channels, the applications we produce for mobile platforms, and the data we collect from our website, all data from specialty pharmacies, provider and payers are collected in a common pool. All this data is scanned, grouped, and categorized down to very small details with the support of the artificial intelligence of Massive Bio. So after collecting the necessary data, what comes next in this process? AI-based matching and pre-screening. In the next stage, patients undergo NGS testing. We collect the patient's report and genomic test. Massive Bio uses end-to-end artificial intelligence algorithms such as NLP, NLU, and computer vision to match clinical trial data across the world with patient data. All studies comply with HIPAA, GDPR, and EU clinical research regulations. Our artificial intelligence starts comparing the collected and categorized patient data with clinical trials around the world. In a very short time, it matches the characteristics sought by clinical trials and which patients are compatible with these trials. Patient referral and concierge enrollment. Next, we share the results produced by our clinical trial matching system with patients and their clinicians. If a patient decides to enroll in a trial we recommended, Massive Bio supports him or her every step of the way, such as locating a clinical site, scheduling, sharing medical records, and insurance verification. Massive Bio is transforming the way patients find clinical trials. Imagine a platform that can analyze vast amounts of data to match patients with the most suitable clinical trials, taking into account their unique medical history, genetic makeup, and even personal preferences. This is not just a tool, but a beacon of hope for patients who are looking for answers and solutions. It's a testament to how technology can make a positive impact on people's lives. So let's watch the hope that technology brings to their lives blossom and take root, becoming a source of comfort, reassurance, and possibility. Join the thousands of patients who are making this possible, and let's make history together.